In the year 1935, the Great Depression had the South firmly in its grasp, squeezing the life out of every family struggling to survive. In the rural backwoods of Monroe County, Alabama, just off the dirt stretch of Highway 1, the Chambers family made their humble home. The small house sat quietly about 25 yards from the road, nestled between the thick trees that bordered the Alabama River to the west and the scattered farms that dotted the landscape. The red dirt of the road was unforgiving, stirred into choking clouds by the rare passing truck or mule-drawn wagon. John Chambers, a proud and resilient man, had carved out a life here with his wife Ellen and their 3 children. The house, simple but sturdy, had only one bedroom, a loft where the children slept, and a kitchen that was the heart of their home. A wood-burning stove kept them warm on cold nights, and a large hand-built table in the dining area bore the marks of countless meals shared, conversations whispered, and prayers spoken. Behind the house, a modest garden provided most of their vegetables: beans, peas, cucumbers, peppers, and corn, along with a few fruit trees that bore the sweetest peaches and pears one could find. A small chicken coop supplied eggs, while a mule, a few goats, hunting dogs, and a scatter of feral cats completed their modest menagerie. Life was hard, but it was their life, and they cherished it. John worked whenever he could at the cannery in Excel, 10 miles away, or on government conservation projects, clearing land and keeping the wolves of hunger at bay. Ellen, ever the resourceful wife, made clothes for the children and managed the household with an efficiency born of necessity. Their oldest, Jim, was 9, full of curiosity and determination. Judith, the 7-year-old middle child, was a mix of her father's grit and her mother's quiet strength. Edgar, the youngest at 5, idolized his older brother and followed him everywhere. The Chambers were a God-fearing family, attending Union Church in Purdue Hill every Sunday. John often hitched the mule to their wagon and took the family to the little church, its pulpit built from salvaged saloon wood, where they joined the rest of the community in worship. It was a simple life, made bearable by the faith that sustained them and the friendships they cherished. Like the bond between John and Jay Calhoun. Jay, who lived closer to Jones Mill, often worked alongside John at the cannery. They were more than co-workers. They were brothers in arms against the relentless poverty that gripped them. Sometimes, when Jay's old truck was too broken down to run, John would pick him up in the mule-drawn wagon, and they would share stories and laughter during the long, dusty ride to work. But one Monday in late August, Jay arrived at the cannery to find no sign of John. At first he thought little of it. Perhaps John had been delayed, or there was some family matter to attend to. But as the week wore on, with no word from his friend, Jay began to worry.
John wasn't the type to miss work, not with mouths to feed. Sunday came, and when the Chambers family didn't show up at church, my worry turned to dread. After the service, I asked around, but no one had seen or heard from them all week.
His wife, Edna, urged him to ride out to their place and check on them. After a hasty lunch, Jay managed to get his old truck sputtering to life and headed down the familiar stretch of Highway 1.
The sun hung low in the sky as I turned off Lime Pit Road, the dirt crunching beneath my tires.
But as he neared the spot where the Chambers house should have been, he felt a wave of confusion wash over him. The trees were there, the road looked the same. But the house was gone. In its place was a vast expanse of water, a pond that had no business being there. Jay rubbed his eyes as if to clear them of some trick of the light. The landscape was familiar on one side of the road: trees, brush, the distant shimmer of the Alabama River. But on the other side, where the Chambers' home had stood, there was nothing but that eerily still pond. Jay circled the area, his boots sinking into the soft, damp ground near the water's edge. Panic rose in his chest.
I knew this land like the back of my hand. I'd been here countless times, but now it was as if the earth itself had swallowed up my friends and left no trace behind.
Shaken, Jay drove back home and told Edna what he had seen.
She urged me to go to the authorities, to get someone out there who could make sense of it all.
The next morning, low on gas but high on determination, Jay headed to the sheriff's office in Purdue Hill. Sheriff Tom Crenshaw was a no-nonsense man, known for his gruff demeanor and unshakable skepticism. When Jay explained what he had found, or rather hadn't found, the sheriff raised an eyebrow, but finally agreed to take a look. He and a deputy loaded into the sheriff's car, and Jay led the way back to the spot. When they arrived, Sheriff Crenshaw stood silent for a long moment, staring at the pond. Like Jay, he knew the area well, and like Jay, he couldn't fathom what he was seeing. He paced up and down the road, muttering under his breath as the deputy looked on in wide-eyed disbelief.
This ain't right. It's like the whole damn place just disappeared.
The deputy, less seasoned but equally disturbed, suggested they call in the fire department. Within the hour, fire trucks from Claiborne and Rocky Hill were on the scene, their crews just as baffled as the sheriff. They brought with them a small wooden boat, intending to measure the depth of the water. As the boat drifted out to the center of the pond, they lowered a rope with a weight tied to the end, expecting to hit bottom soon enough. But as the rope uncoiled, foot after foot, the weight never touched ground. They brought in more rope, eventually lowering a total of 6,000 feet into the murky depths, and still the bottom eluded them.
It's like a bottomless pit.
The word sent a chill through everyone present. Days turned into weeks, and the mystery of the Chambers family deepened. Searches were conducted, theories floated, but no one could explain what had happened. The local paper never printed a word about the disappearance, as if the town itself was too frightened to acknowledge the inexplicable. Over time, the pond remained, but its water level slowly receded. Decades later, it was only about 8 feet deep, no longer the abyss it once was. The story of the Chambers family faded into obscurity, a whispered legend told by old-timers to scare children. But some who stood on the banks of that pond on quiet, moonlit nights claimed they could still hear faint echoes. The laughter of children, the murmur of a family at dinner, the distant call of a man to his mule. Perhaps they were just stories, or perhaps the Chambers family was still down there, somewhere in the dark depths, lost to time but not to memory. The land around the pond grew wild and untamed, as if nature itself sought to cover the wound where the Chambers' home once stood. And so the mysterious disappearance of the Chambers family became just another echo in time, a haunting reminder of how fragile our grip on reality can be, and how sometimes the earth itself has secrets it refuses to share. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through Echoes in Time, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Make sure to come back for more captivating stories and legends. See you in the next adventure.